The Blokebusters podcast is a proud member of the Pod Bros Network, where you can find us as well as other excellent podcasts such as Sarcasm City, Worst Millennials, and Late Night Gamers at podbros.com. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy another episode of the Blokebusters podcast.
Tonight's story is somewhat unique and calls for a different kind of introduction.
Who's going off? Today we are canceling the apocalypse!
Wait a minute. You ain't heard nothing yet.
And this is?
Lilu Dallas Multipass.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Houston, we have a problem.
Have you tried turning it off and on again?
Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.
Now, where was I?
Welcome to episode 83C of the Blokebusters podcast. I'm Paul, and today we're going to be talking with our good friend B-Rob about A Series of Unfortunate Events, Season 3. How are you doing, sir?
I am doing very well. Very, very well. Let's put this out there into the atmosphere and whatnot. It's been 3 seasons of A Series of Unfortunate Events, and I've been privileged to join you for Season 1, Season 2, and here we are discussing the final season, Season 3. There have been 3 attempts to record this episode between me and you, and they've all been unfortunate, so I just wanted to throw out the irony of us trying to put this together.
Yes, it's been interesting, yes. Full transparency, we did attempt to record a full episode a little while ago, and recording equipment failed us, so...
Well, not so much you, more me.
Yes.
It's not you, it's me.
Yeah. But yes, it's true. Very true. There you go. I'll just blame you again if anything goes wrong.
There you
go. Yes, we're hoping that you'll actually hear this one, so that'll be nice. I'll get nuts and bolts out of the way really quick, and then we can get right into it. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Blokebusters. You can go to blokebusters.com, and we have a nice website there. You can also go to podbros.com and check us out, as well as some other great shows there. And we do have a Patreon if you want to help us just kind of keep this show going. It's patreon.com/blokebusterspodcast, and I'm trying to think of some fun little things to go on there, and they will be updated if and when I'm able to come up with them. So, even just $1 a month is very, very, very helpful. So
yes, it is.
Please do consider it.
Pretty please.
Yes. So, with that, I'd say let's dive straight into it then. So, first and foremost, what were your thoughts and expectations going into this series? Because obviously we've covered our general review of the first series and the second series, but when I got a hold of you to let you know that it was on Netflix, what did you have coming into this series?
Okay, so Season 3 snuck up on me. I did not know it was out. I did not know Netflix released it. I didn't see any Twitter traffic, Instagram. I saw nothing. It just, as quick as it came in, is just as quick as I consumed the content. You not text message me. You hit me up on Twitter. It's like, hey, Season 3 is out. Whenever you watch it, let me know and we can go ahead and do the final review. And I was like, wait a minute, it's out? And as soon as I got the information, I immediately went and told my wife. I was like, hey, Season 3 out. We got to stop what we're doing and watch this shit right now.
Yeah, that was it came out, and I messaged you when I was about 2.5 episodes in, and before I had finished the 4th episode, you let me know you would finish it. So...
Yeah, see, but that's where you have the advantage. I mean, you took a little time to, go through the episodes or whatever, take breaks and, consume it, more than I did. I consumed it, but I had no remnants of it left behind. Because as soon as I found out, we turned it on. I think we finished it off in 2 days. I just so happened to be off of work, and I was like, oh, let's do this, like right now. So it kind of blurred by me. But overall, the series as a whole, specifically Season 3, was magnificent. I was sad to see it all come to an end, but, good things do come to an end. So
Yes. And, Sadly, the nature of the beast was always going to be that the third series was the final one, just based on how many books they covered. And yeah, going into this one, I considered rewatching the first two series when I knew roughly when this was coming out, but I realized that I didn't do that for the second series, and I totally enjoyed that, and it would have been one of those things where I'd had to have really planned it out, because I can only really watch it at set times, and so it's like, okay, the next 2 weeks is going to be my rewatching this thing. Yeah. And so I was like, yeah, you know what, I won't do that, I'll just enjoy it as it comes. And I was most intrigued to see how much of what they'd set up would end up being paid off.
The payoff. And I think we spoke about this maybe on the season 2 recap or whatever, and I was just kind of applauding the show for, you know, having a set point, you know, a destination A, launch point A, destination Z. So this whole thing was mapped out from, you know, the beginning to the end, you know, in line with the books that are already out. And I was saying that more shows should take cues from this show and just be like, you don't have to come up with, you know, a Walking Dead type scenario to where you got 38,000 seasons already lined up in a queue or whatever. You can be like, hey, we have this story, we have this many seasons, and, you know, it's just going to be portion size. It's sample size. I mean, you're not going to get this big, drawn out years, months type deal. It's just like, here's the story. It's going to take this long, and there you have it. Because I'll be fine with that. You just let me know it's going to be 3 seasons. It's going to take from this time to this time, and I'm fine with that. So I ain't sitting here going week to week like, oh, when the next episode coming out. They done took a mid-season finale break. Goddamn, it's New Year's, so they're going to take another 2 weeks off and all this other crap. I only do that with one show, and that's Supernatural. And I've been watching it since season 1, and they're on like season 13 or 14 right now. So that's the only show that I can tolerate that mess with. Nothing else is just like, I'll wait till they cancel it or it comes to a season finale, and I'll binge it all the way from season 1.
Yeah, that's I was actually going to bring up Supernatural in the respect of what you were talking about, because I know that the series creators had an endpoint in mind, and they reached that endpoint, I think, about season 5.
Yeah.
And they realized that they could keep going, and everyone on board was like, yeah, you know, we kind of want to keep this going. And then I think they weren't necessarily cancelled, but they weren't sure if they were going to continue, so they kind of left it at a point where they could stop, but then they just kept going and going and going.
Yeah.
And I'm about a season and a half behind at this point with that, but I've been enjoying that as well. But not a lot of shows actually have the opportunity to keep going and still be as good.
Yeah. And that one, in that episode, in that season, that show has sentimental value to me as well. That's why I kind of keep continuing on with the watching of it. It was when I met my wife for the first time, she introduced me to the show. I think it was already like live. It was maybe 2 or 3 seasons in. So she told me about it, and we binge watched from season 1 to current, and we've been in line with it all the way since then.
Nice. Yeah.
But Supernatural is another show. We can talk about that another time. We're here for the series of unfortunate events.
Indeed. So we'd probably start out just covering the episodes as they came in. So the first 2 episodes covered the slippery slope. And that one, you finally got to see how they got away from not crashing and dying in a caravan. And it was just because in kind of typical series of unfortunate events fashion, it just kind of hit a rock, and that was just enough for the physics to knock it off to one side to give them enough time to come up with a way to escape. And you knew that Violet and Klaus weren't going to die at the beginning of series 3. It just wasn't going to happen. But it was kind of fun that it was like, we know they're not going to die, so bonk, okay, this thing goes off down the road a little bit. But yeah, this was the episodes where we got reintroduced to the most annoying character in the entire series.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely cannot stand that little girl.
Yeah, and it can't stand her so much that daggone we forget her name a lot.
Yeah, Carmelita.
Carmelita. Yeah, I mean, she's an annoying character, but she is a great actress.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. I have nothing bad to say about the actress that plays her and the way that she was played. I just cannot stand the character.
Thinking about it now, just her attitude, she kind of reminds me of Violet from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah, I can see that. Especially just the confidence in themselves that they have, and as I believe we touched on in our failed recording, to me, I ended up hating her more than Olaf, and it felt very much like you have in Harry Potter when you had, and of course now I'm forgetting her name. Umbridge, Dolores Umbridge.
Yeah, Umbridge. There you go.
Yeah, when she's introduced and suddenly everyone hates her more than Voldemort.
Exactly.
A fantastically done character. So yeah, I appreciated the well acted character, but I absolutely hated the character. So yeah, just well done, right there.
Also, continuing on from the last episode, bringing us into the current 2 for season 3, they find out that one of the parents may still be alive. And when we talked about this last time, that seemed to be the theme of all of season 3, to where, characters in certain ways were having some type of parent issues, or, being estranged from their parents, or losing a parent, or some combination of all those things. So that's kind of where we are introduced to MWB in H and WWH in B. That is the man with a beard and no hair, and the woman with hair and no beard.
Yes, which for some reason, no matter how many times I hear that, I just enjoy it. Just like the complete obviousness of the woman with hair but no beard. It's like, wouldn't it be more? It would be more of a name that you'd have to give her if she did have the beard. So if it was the other way around, the woman with a beard but no hair, and the man with hair and no beard, I feel like that would be something that this series would have done. Yeah. But I kind of appreciated the fact that it wasn't that way around, it was the way it is. So
yeah, and then just the aesthetic of the two, the way they looked. The man's beard looked like the woman's hair, and her hair looked like his beard.
Yep.
It was almost reminds me of a playing card. When they have like a jack or a king on it, they have the mirror image of the character on top and bottom. That's kind of what it reminded me of.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's the way that they were going with it, is because they are one and the same effectively. And one thing I found kind of funny when I was looking it up is the people that play them both have the same last name. Because you have Beth Grant plays the woman with hair but no beard, and people that are wondering like, oh, do I know that person? It's if you've seen Donnie Darko, she's the parent that's rallying behind the guy that's running the dance troupe who's arrested for
the child
pornographic images.
Yeah.
Yes. And Richard E. Grant is the man with a beard but no hair.
And they're not related, are they?
They're not related at all, but they both have the same last name, so I found it kind of funny that they ended up doing that. So of course, you are introduced to the person who is revealed to be the survivor of the fire, and you don't realise that they're the survivor of the fire until, I believe, the second of the 2 episodes? Possibly. And it would be Quigley Quagmire. So the triplet that everyone believed to have died. So in that, you do realise that one of their parents did not survive, despite the fact that that's what everyone assumed. So
there was a survivor, and everybody from the previous season already concluded that the third of the triplets were dead. So
yeah, everyone knew that person was dead, and then when there's a survivor of the fire, it's like, oh, it must be one of the Baudelaires, and you don't think, well, no, there was more than one fire. So,
yeah,
another excellent misdirection there.
Yeah, that's what the show is king of. Misdirection is just like, all right, so I'm trying to figure out which parent it is, and it come to find out it wasn't a parent at all, and I was like, you son of a bitch. And that's something that you to point at, what you were saying before, like you were wondering how season 3 was going to pay off all the things that they set up in season 1 and season 2. Is just, everything that was lost or not present in the next season, it all circled around and came back in season 3. So you're going to have repeat characters from season 1 and season 2 that appear in season 3. And certain places that they've been, all those characters kind of appear in later episodes of this season.
Yeah, and another fun thing as well. I made a possible prediction at the end of the second thing that we did, which was guessing who the woman was that we saw, and it was like, maybe that's going to be their mother. Yeah, because we didn't know, and of course it turned out to be Kit Snicket, who would be Lemony Snicket's sister. And apparently, trying to look this stuff up, Kit Snicket is barely in the books at all. But the same way that they did with Jacques Snicket in the second series, they just gave us more of her in this one, mostly because it was really fun, and it was a good story way of getting the children to know what was going on and to tie a couple of other things together, such as the woman and the man going after the sugar bowl, and you realize, oh, she had it and she's taking it away. So that was nicely done and very well acted.
And then books have more of an advantage than television and movies, because they, you can write a book forever. You can put as many details in it as you want. You can flesh out so many characters as you want or whatever, and you don't have that. You don't have that in TV and movies. And they did a good job of picking the bits and pieces out of the books and kind of, manipulating it to translate well for television. And especially for somebody like myself that hasn't read any of the books, they set all this up, very well, and it almost intrigues me. It almost makes me want to go to the books, and kind of see where, they bounce off each other and whatnot. But I'm not, so.
Yeah, well, I ended up doing a little bit of research, and I found out some of the ways that the TV series is different from the books, and a couple of them are interesting. So, for instance, the freaks that they picked up at the end of the second series, that the woman and the man end up killing in these episodes, they actually stay with Olaf until they get to the Hotel Denouement in the books. So that, and I understand why they got rid of them, because that would have just been way too many people, at least in the TV show. And the murder of the Snow Scout's parents isn't in the books at all. So that was an interesting addition, I thought, and a very good one, actually. It was a really cool way to show just how sinister these people were.
Yeah. And then the escalation that we spoke about, in this whole series or whatever. Season 1 was like, things were accidents, when they happened. And then season 2, it was like murder, but not so much, it was like hesitant murder, but it was like murder. Like they straight up killed a motherfucker. And then season 3 is just like, yeah, we killed some people, whatever. It's just like they're numb to it. It's just like it's a everyday occurrence now.
Yeah, and even watching the Baudelaires, it's like they've reached a point where every single time it just goes south, they're annoyed and they're dismayed, but they're not surprised anymore. It's just...
exactly. It's just like I can remember them being so down about it, and some like a lot of the earlier episodes they would mope about it, and it kind of would carry over into the next episode. But this one is just like, oh, motherfucker dead. Let's keep going.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so interesting to watch, and this series I thought really showed the growth of the actresses and actors that played the Baudelaires
physically too.
Well, yes, I mean, it helps that they did film it. They took a little bit of break and then got back to it, and you can see them growing up as it goes on, and obviously with that will come a little bit of maturing as an actor. But yeah, just being able to see the characters with everything they go through kind of become numb to it, and their attitudes start to change as well. And just watching them bloom into that was a lot of fun to see. Yeah,
so we saw Sonny go from crawling and not really talking, just a lot of baby jibber jabber, to walking and forming some form of words. And then here we are in season 3, different hairstyle, a little bit bigger, walking well, and actually using words.
Yeah, and a lot of time you don't really need the subtitles, but obviously they kept them because that's what you do. She's in the books, this takes place over just a few months, so she's still a baby. Yeah, which I enjoyed, and they didn't hang a lantern on it as much as they did at the beginning of the second series. They just kind of knew that you would accept it this time. So it was cool. I liked coming back into this and seeing this episode and just realizing that on top of this being the race to the finish, the stakes were just getting higher and higher. So that was really cool. And one fun thing as well that I didn't realize is that the first 2 episodes were written by a man called Daniel Handler. And in case you haven't been following along, Daniel Handler is the real name of the person that wrote the Lemony Snicket books. So yes, he was helming that episode, and he co-wrote the last episode as well. I think
I don't know if we spoke about the series on the previous recordings, but I remember saying like having the original, creator of the content, having something to do with a series or some kind of, some recreation of their works is, I don't think is necessarily a bad thing, but to have somebody writing and directing it. I mean, because I think the dude, I forget his name, the one who created the Walking Dead series, he's all over that shit. He's co-directing, producing, and all kind of crap. Yeah,
it's generally really good if you have someone who is so on board with this. Sometimes it isn't. I mean, all you need to do is look at Maximum Overdrive.
No, I still love that movie though.
Oh yeah, it's a ball of fun, but you can't exactly call it great cinema. But yeah, it's really good that these books that were based on every person I've ever talked to that has read them has said that these books are so well written, and I am sad I didn't get to read them growing up because they feel like exactly my style of books. And the fact that he was on board with this, he helped write it, and he was available for any questions that the people that were creating this had. I mean, it meant that this whole show was going to have the best chance it could.
Yeah, because I mean, you don't want it to be exactly like the book, because I guess it would kind of taint it in a way for people who've read all of them to go into a TV show and they know everything that's going to happen. So you got to do a lot of misdirection and swerves and all those things and whatnot. Just to go back to The Walking Dead or whatever, that series in comic book form is still going on as we speak, as the shows go on from season to season, episode to episode. So people know what's coming next, but they do it in a way for television to where for us that don't read the comic books, it's something new and fresh altogether. But for the people who know the content and read the comic books and are up to date with the series and everything, they can be like, oh, all right, they did this here, but they changed it this way, and this way. Because I've seen some of the panels from the Walking Dead stuff, and like some of the characters that are together in the TV series aren't necessarily together as in the comic books or whatever. Because Bashan and one of the guys from the other season that died, big black guy, I forget his name, they were somewhat romantically, intimate in the comic books from what I've seen in panels.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah.
And I think Rick loses his hand at one point too. So I know they teased it in one of the seasons, but it wound up not happening.
Yeah, that seems like it would be too much of a handicap for the main character in this sort of a setting. So I can understand why they didn't do that in the show. But yeah, and what you were saying with some of the ways they've changed it, there's a couple of others that I thought were really good. For instance, jumping ahead a little bit, when you got to see Kit, Lemony, Olaf, and Beatrice at the opera.
Yeah, the flashback.
Yeah, that is not in the books at all.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think you get references to it, but the actual scene itself isn't in the book.
Mm-hmm.
And the other two things that I'll mention as well is both from The Penultimate Peril, is the fact that Lemony Snicket was the man with the taxi and that Dewey was the father of Kit's baby.
Mm-hmm.
They are kind of inferred in the books, but never confirmed.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they were always fan theories. So this series is kind of the official nod that that's the case.
Well, that's cool because from what are you saying from your research and what I'm seeing in this series is they putting caps on all the questions that people had about the books and they're just playing it all out within this series, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
because we didn't get a definitive reason why Olaf is the way he is until season 3, so now we know exactly why. There was hints and sprinkles of it between the first and second series, but we actually know why now.
Yeah, and it was really cool, especially going into the Grim Grotto, which are the next 2 episodes when they end up getting on board the submarine of the Queequeg.
Mm-hmm.
And you realize there's another child who's running this thing because another parent figure has vanished, and you realize, so yet again this is another VFD thing, and then when Olaf turns up and captures them again, once again the Baudelaires are just kind of like, oh, for God's sakes.
You know what? Just looking back at this whole series, the kids are the smartest ones in the room.
Oh, yeah.
In any situation, any kids. It's not specifically the Baudelaires, it's all the kids. It's the girl on this ship. It's the triplets. It's just all the kids are the smartest ones in the room, and the adults are just oblivious to everything.
Yeah, and every single one of these kids that has been the son or daughter of someone from VFD is someone that has grown up with learning and someone that has grown up being taught all of these various skills, and then everyone that's coming after them is someone that has either just kind of fallen into their position and so they're just perfectly happy where they are and they don't need to learn anything else, or are the villains who are just single-minded and after one thing all the time. So they're often able to evaluate the situation, and their problem is they're often just not able to influence it. So,
and then as adults do or whatever. I am the adult, so you do what I say because you're a kid. It's kind of that vibe throughout the whole thing, because a lot of it too is it is, the theme heavily falls as far as the adults go. Ignorance is bliss.
Yes.
So I mean, it's just whatever. It doesn't. If I ignore it, it'll go away. Whatever.
Yeah, pretty much. That's the way it really feels with a lot of these things. It's just that the adults don't ever want to deal with something, and
are they so busy trying to cover up and hide things that they dismiss a lot of things so they can do just that?
Yeah. Well, and even kind of along the same lines, you find out in the Grim Grosso episodes that Hookie, otherwise known as Fernald, is the older brother of the person who is helming the submarine.
Mm-hmm.
And his way of kind of covering up that is he doesn't tell Olaf that Fiona is on the ship.
Mm-hmm.
And he just kind of attempts to misdirect Olaf, but doesn't really have a good idea as to how to get away or how to let them get away. It's just like, I'll just distract him a bit. It's like,
yeah, he's just doing what he can to protect his sister.
Yeah. And I felt it was kind of vindicating a little bit for him, especially given everything that we discover in how he
lost his hands.
Yeah, how he lost his hands and the reasons for doing what he did, and it was doing something awful for the right reasons. Another thing that props up a lot in this series, and the fact that he ended up where he did, I felt was really believable, and that he was always trying to see the best, and you can tell he's done bad thing, but he was always the one to just kind of be like, "You sure? Like, can we do something else?" But
yeah, and and there it is again, the parent issues. I mean, it was all a dispute between him and his father, kind of why things turned out the way it did with him.
Yep. Yeah, and also in the Grim Grosso, we're introduced to one of the most important MacGuffins in the series, which is the Medusoid Mycelium.
Yes.
Which
was created by Hookie, right?
It wasn't created by him.
But he tried to destroy it.
Yeah, he found out that his father was keeping it under this lighthouse because they were trying to... We find out they were trying to figure out a way to cure it. But he was certain that the VFD was going to use it as a weapon. So he attempted to destroy it. And it did not work, but that was what he did. So yeah, it was an interesting thing. It was another one of those things where this is where real life science just takes a back seat.
Yeah.
But that has happened sporadically during the series, so by this point you're not even questioning it. It's just like, well, yeah, of course this thing is completely deadly and will just kind of appear and disappear.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun, and I also enjoyed we see Sunny really coming into her own in this series, and this is, I think, even more so than the previous two episodes, this is where you see Sunny proving just how much of a fighter she is. As she's dying, she is trying to tell the others how to save her. So it's she's one of the strongest, if not the strongest of the three, because of everything that she's trying to do now. So
and I noticed there were less biting from her in this series.
Yeah, definitely, and obviously they moved quite far from the admittedly not too great CG of the baby just so they should, because to have I'm not quite sure how old the actress was, but I'm assuming 3 or 4 year old pretending to be 1 year. That wouldn't have worked, so I'm glad that they worked that in.
Also, but what we're forgetting about this episode or whatever, one of the characters that made their return, that kind of livened up these scenes, was Phil from the Miserable Meal or whatever. He was one of the guys that lost his leg in that accident.
Yep. Yes, and yet still
optimistic.
As optimistic as possible. Yeah, Phil was great fun just to see on screen again. So it was nice to have that, and ultimately you kind of needed it. You needed that character that was just so optimistic, because you needed the mood to just come up just a little bit with everything that was going on. So, but yeah, anyone that's listening to this without having seen the episodes or something, good on you. But yes, if you do go back and see it, make sure that you either re-watch The Miserable Meal or attempt to watch all of these in one go, so when he comes back you really understand, like, hey, he's back.
Yeah.
And of course he's the cook now, and it's gum.
Yeah. Wasn't there another episode or whatever to where they were somebody was making something and they only had one specific ingredient, just like this? I can't remember.
I'm not sure if it's quite the same, but
I could be completely thinking about a whole nother show. So,
well, I flashed to the original film when they're told just to make dinner, and they had literally 3 things, and they put it together. And of course, Olaf was like, "No, I wanted was it lasagna or whatever it was." It's like, well, how are we supposed to do that? But yeah, when he started going on about like the gum all the time, I just immediately got, because I've started rewatching it now, Monty Python Flying Circus, when they did the spam scene. There's spam and spam. There's spam, egg and spam. There's, but yeah, it was,
have you ever eaten spam?
I have not. I've steered clear of that stuff.
It's not bad. Like, I have nothing against it. The full-on block of meat version of spam, I think I had a taste of it. It's all right. If I had a choice between it and something else, I would probably pick something else. Yeah. But the potted meat version of it, where it's like ground up kind of fine into like a spread. Oh, great on crackers. Great on crackers. I get that for like snacks and stuff when I'm standing on post, or when I was deployed, I would get a whole case of that stuff, and I just get a whole bunch of crackers, and I just tear it up. It's very good.
All right, well, maybe I'll make a trip to the shops tomorrow and look out for that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, moving from the Grim Grotto, then we'll go into the penultimate peril, which was, I think, one of the best episodes of the series, or the best episodes of the series, and as a whole, really, which is when the Baudelaires end up at the Hotel Denouement, which, again, fantastically named. And, we had yet another, several returns of characters from before. They got Justice Strauss comes back, and you've got people from the Village of Foul Devotees. You've got the Vice Principal of Proof Up Prep. You've also got the taxi driver from Lake Lachrymose, as just a whole bunch of people are there.
Yes.
And again, a lot of fun with wordplay as well, because when they have this giant trial, the whole point of Justice is blind. Everyone needs to wear their blindfolds until the trial begins.
Yes.
And there was just such a great sort of bit that they had, and then everyone just goes with it without, again, all the adults, everyone that should be going, well, no, this is stupid. It's like, yep, okay, just tie this up here. There we go.
Yeah. And then for me, when they got to the scene, they was talking about the high court and everything, and they were actually high up in the building. I already knew who it was from the get-go. Did you have that same feeling of who those individuals were?
Yeah, that was the thing. It was always going to be someone that we'd already met, and when it was, oh, you can't see them, it was, well, I mean, it's a trial for Olaf. There's only two people it could be, and it was indeed the man and the woman. So,
remember, the man with the beard,
yes,
and the woman without the beard but the hair.
Yes, exactly. And it was. This is a bit of an odd thing to say, but it was kind of fun to see Justice Strauss, who is so confident that the law will win out and the law will be just.
Yeah, because she felt like she had all the facts. She had Olaf dead to rights. She didn't take into account of all the things that the kids may have done throughout the whole ordeal and whatnot, which Olaf masterfully unveiled to everyone in attendance.
Yeah, and on top of that, the fact that the other judges would already have decided to clear Olaf no matter what, like that doesn't occur to her at all. So she is truly like heartbroken at the end of this, because
it questioned a lot of her beliefs.
Yeah, despite everything that she's done, and despite everything that she's put together, she fails in that respect, and then the Baudelaires ultimately don't go with her at the end, and she clearly just can't fathom that as well. So it was sad what happened to the character, but it was so much not fun. it was so good to watch.
Yeah.
I'll put it that way, because that makes it sound better. And yeah, the whole thing as well behind the denouement brothers, I thought was really well done. As well with the, are you Frank or Ernest? Yes.
Yeah. That's a good question. And then they just kind of stare awkwardly and they'll walk away.
Yeah, pretty much. And yeah, having that be, and it was really fun to see, because obviously the people in VFD that are still around and still trying to help, and Kit warns the Baudelaires that one of the managers is good, one of them is bad, and you can't tell them apart. And she doesn't offer any assistance in that regard. And then she leaves, and so it's like, oh, like even the children are just like, come on, like give us something. But
yeah, and then what we will find out also later is instead of being twins, they're triplets.
Yeah, and that was actually that was something. It didn't click for me until they showed the three Baudelaires going off and doing their things individually, and you saw three brothers. And at that point, I realized there's three brothers at the same place at the same time, but we've only seen two, so something's off there.
Yeah, and
it was really good, because when you saw Kit telling them the advice and says, I think they said Frank's the bad one and working against the VFD, Ernest is the one that's working for the VFD, and then you saw her with one of the brothers, and she ends up saying, give my love to Ernest. So you think, like, oh, she's with Frank? Like, how's that? And then once you find out that there's a third brother, everything clicks into place. And
yeah. And I didn't get it until just now when you kept saying the names. Frank and Ernest.
Yep,
one's being Frank, one's being Ernest. I got it.
Well, that's why it was so cool when it just, are you Frank or Ernest? Yes. It's like like that. It was so well done, and they play it. I think they play it 3 times. They do it the once, they do it twice, and both of them say yes, and that's all they get. And then they do it when you find Dewey, and it's like, yeah, I don't think you're Frank or Ernest. It's like, and now you're asking the right thing. And he doesn't specifically say anything about the fact that they are names or that they are words to describe. But it was good. I think this is one of my favorite
series
book to episodes that they did. Yeah,
because there's not too many that I can recall. That comes to my mind. Book adaptations that kind of that trailblaze like this one does. I mean, this is damn good.
Yeah. And may as well talk about the end of it as well, which was the end, which was the last episode. I was genuinely shocked to realize that the last episode was just one, and they didn't split it into two. And I thought that it was kind of good to see finally in the last episode Olaf disguises himself, and nobody buys it. It's the only time that literally everybody is just like, no, you're clearly Olaf wearing a dress.
Yes, because so season 1, he heavily relied on disguises, and nobody could tell it was him. Even though it was obviously him, you can tell. I think the only one disguise that he had that was like, questionable. I forget which one it was. I think it was when he was at the Animal House with Uncle Monty or whatever. And he was bald headed and had a beard and everything.
Yeah,
which eerily looked like the man with the beard and no hair.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. It was interesting to see. You said the first series he heavily relies on all of the costumes and stuff.
Yeah.
And then in the second series, when he declared dead, he effectively doesn't really do costumes as much or like disguised kits. He just wears uniform stuff. Like he pretended to be a doctor in one episode, and so he bare minimum. He just puts on, and then with season 2 or whatever, they
as far as the people discovering who he is in those disguises, their telltale was the eye tattoo on his ankle. So they always knew it was like, well, I'm not sure if this is Olaf, but let me check his ankle to be sure. And that was like kind of the theme of that series for season 2. Yeah,
and then they kind of ended up. They did show it a few times in the third season, but at this point they know we know he's got it, and he's not attempting to fool anyone at this point. So we finally actually got to see Olaf just being Olaf, just being relatively evil, just to get the one thing he's after, rather than having to concoct these plans to get around something to get what he's after.
It's more direct, and he also, has the backing of the man with the beard and no hair, and the woman with hair and no beard.
Yeah.
Who they favored Esme more than him.
Yes, they did, and that really teared him up, and was again so much fun to see. And Neil Patrick Harris was just awesome. Like throughout the whole series, he was fantastic, but especially with this one, where again Olaf, we got so much character growth and so much character understanding, just based on the interactions and then the little scenes that we get to see. And it was so well done to finally see this character that we've all been rooting against throughout the whole series, but now we finally get to see, oh, this is why, or that's what caused him to go down that route, and that's what causes him to despise the Baudelaires. So.
Yeah, and then the theme with him and Esme or whatever, his so-called girlfriend or whatever, you see the tension between them from the first time they reconnect in season 2, and how it's kind of just, you're here because, type deal in season 3. And that's a lot of that is really flushed out when you get that flashback that he was in love with someone at one time and he hasn't really got over it, and she's just kind of like, I guess what the booty call, you're here, so I mean,
yeah, it's just and again, that was something that I can't remember if I'd sort of just picked that up in passing some way, but I was interested to see how everything was going on. And then when we got the flashback and he was with Kit, I was like, oh yes, he was part of VFD on the good side, and then he ended up getting onto the other side of the schism. And it was like, well, clearly being with Kit, that's not the case anymore. So, and then part of that deep-seated hatred for that would come from that. And so it was good to see at the very end that he wasn't necessarily redeemed, but he was still willing to just put aside all of his own personal stuff to attempt to save and be with the one that he was in love with. So.
And then, in some convoluted kind of way, because we kind of spoke about this last time, how the timeline of Lemony Snicket's narration and his actual appearances in some of these flashbacks and, throughout the story and whatnot, that it was kind of confusing in a way, because as he was narrating the story, he was in frame for some of the stuff he was narrating. So it was kind of blurred on what the time frame was. So in some convoluted way, in my mind, knowing that Olaf was with Kit at one point, I thought her being pregnant was Olaf's kid for some reason until it was revealed at the hotel that was for one of the triplets or whatnot, right?
Yeah, it was Dewey. That, was the father, and yeah, it was interesting to see, especially with the final episode when they end up getting this baby right at the end, and they agree to help raise her. All three of them, even Sonny, to raise this baby, and then Kit ends up passing away from the reduced-eyed mycelium. And it was kind of fun to see Violet and Klaus finally becoming the parent. I mean, they'd obviously been caring for Sonny, but with Sonny kind of growing and maturing as a character and becoming a true sibling at this point, it was like, okay, they've now finally turned into their parents, as it were. So
so season 1 was heavily them taking care of Sonny and trying to find a place of their own for all three of them. Season 2 was more of them trying to figure out the fact behind what happened to their parents and unravel the whole mystery of the VFD and all this stuff, while Sonny needed less tending to then, so there was more focused on unraveling the mystery behind. Season 3, Sonny is pretty much a full functioning person or whatever for the most part, and it's not so much trying to find a place for them to be, but to rather just figure all this out and get it all behind them.
Yeah, again, as we said before, just watching the evolution throughout the series has been so fun, and I know I will go back to the beginning and just kind of watch them all in a row and see see in quick succession how these characters grow. But it'll be fun to revisit it, and we did get throughout this series, we got some real callbacks to the Tale is All Sorrow and Woes was that one came back. That was kind of nice to hear it one more time. And then right at the end, we got to see that Beatrice meets her uncle. And,
but before we get there, we glossed over a good bit of information here. The Sugar Bowl.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, because we spoke about the Vasilin and the mycelium.
Reducoid mycelium.
Yeah, you got the proper alliteration on that. We talk about this virus and everything, but we never got around to the cure and whatnot.
Yeah.
There's been different instances within the series to where we spoke about it before, where Sonny gets infected with it, and they had to find the cure or an antidote or whatever. What was it specifically that they used the first time?
Horseradish.
Horseradish.
But they didn't have straight horseradish, so they used wasabi. And which actually, it did seem to me to be something that was like, okay, they kind of figured this out in that episode, and surely if they were able to figure it out, then other VFD people would have figured it out, so they would have just made sure that there was horseradish everywhere. But they did, at the end of this, they did bring up that this sugar bowl that everyone had been clamoring over on both sides of the schism and then Esme just wants it back because it was her sugar bowl, damn it.
Yeah, it just completed a tea set.
And in the books, it was never stated what was in the sugar bowl. It was always just the sugar bowl, and everyone wanted it. And I think in the end, no one got it. And no one was able to claim it, and no one ever said what was in it. But in this series, we finally get the answer, or an answer, which is that the sugar bowl contained sugar.
Yeah.
But not just any sugar, of course.
Yeah, it was like some hybrid blend of sugar or whatever.
Yeah, it was sugar with horseradish and apple, I think. And this was an inoculation against it, not just a cure. So,
yes. So if you took it, you were immune to the virus from then on. Whether if you would have just ate the horseradish or an apple straight up, it would have just cured you of the ailment at the time. But you can't get infected again later.
Yes, as Sonny does. So it was interesting. And then of course you find out that because the Baudelaire parents had been on the island before,
which we never talked about, so they don't know what we talked about.
I figured
leave it to mystery, right? Because they got to go back and watch it at some point,
Yeah, we're going to go back and watch it, and some of the people listening to this may not have seen it and just kind of want to get bits and pieces. So I figured we'd leave out some of the good stuff, with the parents having been there, they end up developing effectively the cure and building it into the apples from this tree, so that they are able to save themselves at the end. But yeah, it was interesting that again, such an anticlimax that worked really well is that the ultimate secret that was in the sugar bowl was sugar.
And just the overall theme of this show, just the ups and downs and misdirections and everything, you would come to appreciate that explanation of it. Yeah. I was like, I'm thinking there's like a letter or a secret hit list on the inside or some crazy shit like that. No, it's just sugar. Because why else would you put something else other than sugar in a sugar bowl?
Yeah, exactly. Like, what is a sugar bowl best designed to keep? Sugar. So it was a nice ending to it, I thought. And again, we've not gone over everything, and there's a whole bunch there, but most things in this series that you cared about in the slightest, they did end up wrapping it up in some way or another. And then they even had some background wrap-ups that were fun. For instance, one of my favorite things that I found out about this whole series, on top of the fact that if you follow the background clues, you can realize that one of the people at the Hotel Denouement that was there to see the trial was Babs. Babs said that her partner could not be there because she's in prison for bank robbery. And if you remember from series 2, that was the teacher, Mrs. Bass, who I believe ends up getting caught literally with a giant bag of money. And if you follow the clues that are in the background in season 2, and then also the fact that we know that Moultrie Money Management or whatever the bank was called, that ended up getting robbed, you can pretty much definitively figure out that Mrs. Bass stole the Baudelaire fortune. So what Olaf spent the entire series trying to steal was stolen about halfway through. So that was kind of my favorite thing about the whole stuff in the background. If you were paying attention, there's just so much there.
Also, the banker, his wife ran the newspaper, which was discredited, and she was the only one that didn't get a call back in the in person for season 3, and everybody came back from other seasons and whatnot, but she wasn't there present because she was in jail for writing false stories in the Daily Pontilio or whatever.
The in the final episode, I believe it's Snicket is reading the Daily Pontilio, and it's got our last edition shut down for false reporting, and there's a picture of her behind bars. So that was again, just kind of wrapping everything up. And one thing that I found out that I want to make sure is said here because it just really nice it was in there. So there's one point, and it was on the last day of filming. They filmed a scene where Lemony Snicket is walking through the VFD tunnels, and he's talking about remembering the people that we've lost and how we keep them with us in our memories.
Yeah.
There is a sign on the wall as he's walking along, and that is in the underground in the sewers. There's a whole bunch of signs as you see throughout the series showing you different directions. It'll be to Montgomery's house and so on and so forth. There is a sign that says M. Howarth in the background when he's talking about that.
Yeah.
That sign honors a fan that was part of the Facebook group that was named after the apartment that Jerome and Esme lived in. She died after a battle with autoimmune diseases.
Oh, snap.
So when that happened, the groups reached out to the creators to tell them about her and see if they could do anything. And so apparently the art department placed that sign saying M. Howarth in the VFD tunnel in the background during that bit where Lemony Snicket is talking about the people that we lost.
See, man, that's what makes this a good show. It's just good on all fronts, on the screen and behind the scenes.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I read that and I just had a smile on my face. I was like, yeah, these guys get it, They were able to do that for someone that loved the show so much. So,
and before we finish off, we got to talk about our favorite character throughout the whole series that met an untimely demise, and that's your waiter Larry.
Yeah, your waiter, and yes, he ended up going out in a very interesting way.
Served him some food.
Yep,
as he did throughout all the show.
Yeah, and ended up being boiled alive in some hot curry. Now, I think I know some people that wouldn't mind going out that way, but yeah, that was unfortunate that he was unable to help the Baudelaires up to the end there. But
well, it is a series of unfortunate events.
Yes, very much so. And with that, I think kind of a fitting way to end the review. So yes, do you have any final thoughts before we fully wrap up?
Do you think this whole thing would benefit from a prequel series? Or even a follow-up series, given how it ended? Because I don't mean to cut you off, I'm sorry, but because we know in some way, the Baudelaires survived because they raised this kid to a certain age.
Yeah. And
their story isn't done. So, it can go from, a much older Baudelaires, or it can be prequels, the rise of Olaf and when they were kids, when the principal was picking them out and scouting them for the VFD, or the formation of the VFD in general.
Yeah, I will say I am perfectly happy not seeing anything past what we saw. I feel that trying to revisit it might at this point just feel like, even if it isn't, and even if it's good, it would still feel like, well, we got a good thing here, let's keep it going.
Yeah. And that would contradict what I was saying earlier when I said I like things that just, hey, this is what this is. It's going to start here and end here, and that's it.
Yeah. But yeah, I will say that there is a prequel book written by Lemony Snicket, Daniel Handler, which is called All the Wrong Questions, which is about a young Lemony Snicket and him getting conscripted into the VFD. So I think if you found the right person to play Lemony Snicket, I think you could do really well there. But I think that would have to be just like a mini series, and that's it. Like,
yeah.
Again, don't stretch it out. Just have it be this book, and it's just it could even be a film, like a Netflix film or something, and then that could be it. Because I wouldn't want them to stretch it out, and I don't think they would if they ever did it. But I'm not. I get the feeling they're probably gonna leave it as it is, and again, I'm perfectly okay with that too. It would be nice to see something else, but I'm I'm perfectly happy if we don't. So
yeah, I can agree.
All right, well, yeah, I think that's pretty much everything I have to say about this.
That's all I gotta say about that.
All right. So, in that case, why don't you tell the good people that have been listening so far where they can find you on the interwebs?
All right, you can find me on Twitter at itsbrob. That's ITSBROB. If you want to talk professional wrestling and any other general shenanigans, that's the place you do it. I also host a podcast of my own called The Random Rounds with Rob. You can also follow that on Twitter at 3R Show. And if you want to find out more things and what I'm doing and whatnot and ways to support the show, you can go to randomrobcast.com, to where you can find every single episode of every podcast that I currently do, which is The Random Rounds with Rob, as I mentioned earlier. Wrestling is Trash, my wrestling podcast that I do. And I have a semi-weekly podcast that I do with my wife called The Real Robinsons. So you can find all the information for all those things on randomrobcast.com.
Yes, do go check that out and do go subscribe. They are a lot of fun. Again, if you want to get a hold of myself, just want to let us know what you thought or anything like that, you can go to Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at Blokebusters. You can email us, theblokes@blokebusters.com, or you can just shout very loudly, and if you happen to be nearby, I'll probably hear you. So there's that as well. So, so with all of that being said, I've been Paul.
I've been B-Rob.
And we'll see you next time. Bye.
In case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Hang on a minute, lads. I've got a great idea.
Louis, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.